Hello, we're going to go through new features and enhancements, starting with the pipeline enhancements 1 through 5. So I'll step through selecting multiple divisions, then some session-based settings that are now available, then attributes that we can edit in the tabular view, project attributes. Then I'll touch on how we save a pipeline session for future use if we don't care to commit the dates at the time. So number 1, selecting multiple divisions is pretty clear. I'm on again 510.9925. Go to Pipeline Manager, and based on my different attributes that I might have in my divisions, I can select multiple divisions if I choose, and this is how I do it in this window, multiple attributes as well. So get the portfolio that I want to get for this pipeline session. Okay, so that's how that's done. I'm going to just select one division right now, and one aircraft workload or one attribute for the project portfolio, and apply this. So that covers selecting multiple divisions. If we do select multiple divisions, it's probably best to have a parent global resource file where the resources will be shared across those portfolios. If not, Concerta will merge the resource global files. So that may be a little bit confusing, but typically when I see people using multiple divisions, they're going to be using a global resource file. So session-based settings are now available at the top right-hand corner. Under Settings, we can set not just the WIP limits and things for phases and attributes. Here I have project width of the division if I choose, the attributes. If I select workload, then based on there I can set WIP levels. If I select different attributes, then I can set different WIP limits for those attributes. The same thing for the phases. They're built within the Concerto SPI files. We can set the WIP limits for those phases. Here, resources, I can individually, for this pipeline session, I can set the max units both at the parent and child level for different resources, as well as when I'd like to change the level of those resources over time, using the exception start, exception end dates. The other parameters we can now adjust in pipeline is the capacity buffer parameters and stretch. So those are now available in the individual pipeline session. Okay. Once I run, say I'm going to get feasible dates here real quick on this portfolio. Shouldn't take too long. And then I'm going to look at the project attributes that are editable in the tabular view. So here, if I go to the tabular view, I've added an attribute. You go into settings. I'll show you what to do that in a minute. But here I've listed an attribute here, and I can change the attribute right here in the pipeline session. And after I commit, those attribute settings will be saved to the individual project files. Okay, that's where that's done. Of course, I'll go back to the main Concerto admin tab real quick, modify config, and show you in the modify config under pipeline manager, tabular view, under hidden fields, we can now, the attributes are available here, so we can move them over to the left-hand column so they can be displayed fields in the tabular view. So that's where that's done. You can see here I've added a few of those attributes. Okay. The committing of partial changes, I'm going to move back to the pipeline window. Once we create our scenario and we want to commit, we can now commit if we choose all the project changes or individually. Also, if I don't want to take the dates, but just maybe change an attribute or a priority, then we can save these here. also can save individual milestone dates versus the whole project date. So that's where that is a much more customizable view in this version of Concerto. The last thing I want to show you is saving a scenario. So once you create your scenario, you go through your pipeline session and you want to save that. You don't want to commit yet, but you want to save it. You can come over here to the Save window, Save As. You can create the scenario name. Save as Test 2 as an example. I can choose to share it or not to share it, mark it as a favorite or not to mark it as a favorite. And click OK over here on the right hand side, and it saves the scenario to Test 2. You see Save Scenario Successful. And over here in my list of scenarios to choose from, if I choose to, I can go back to Test 2. Here I didn't share it initially, but if I want to share it, then other people, I can make other people be able to see this scenario. Okay. So that gives you kind of a rundown of the 5 primary pipeline enhancements. The next video will be on the planning enhancements. Thank you.